I'm just getting ready.
It's sinuses. You should always announce that.
Danny,
Yes.
Danny, it's because the air turned cold and my body does that. No, as soon as the air gets cold,
Yes.
I can't breathe cold
No.
air. It
Oh,
just
is that what
doesn't
it
work.
is? Oh, I
Yeah,
tell you, just
it's bad.
that's a good reason.
But I guess
Not moving
this
somewhere.
is the same reason that when it gets really cold, your tires start to fly.
Yes. Your lungs
Okay,
do the same
yeah,
thing.
same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, right. Good luck.
Okay, are we ready? Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast. My name is Amy Weisberg, and I'll be your service leader this morning. We are a people of many different paths and beliefs who are brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers. While diverse in age, ethnicity, and gender, we share the same values centered around love and acceptance of all. Our goal is to open minds, inspire spiritual growth, and ignite a passion for social justice. If you're visiting today, please fill out a card on the table by the front door so we can connect with you. In your order of service today, you'll find a description of second hour groups. Second hour begins around 11:15 and consists of small discussion groups. There are a lot of announcements today, so I encourage you to actually read the order of service and look at the announcements. Things are getting very busy, and I think Karen has more.
Okay, I'll be really quick. There's an announcement about the game hour, and there's the sign up in the back. Sign up if you're interested in playing the games. There are a few games listed already that I plan to bring, and there are a lot of empty spaces. If you have a game that you would like to bring, please note that too. Also, for the clarification for the Thanksgiving dinner, in being a host would be being responsible for a table, and you can bring a tablecloth, but we have many. But we ask that you bring the flatware and plates and maybe a little decoration for the table. And then rinse off the plates afterward and take them home to clean them so we have less congestion in the kitchen. And we need hosts. It's fun to host a table.
Okay. Read your announcements. So this service today is one of those, I don't know if you know, but we subscribe to a UUA Service of the Month series, and they send us recorded sermons from different UU ministers around the country. This one is about drawing wisdom and guidance from, about UU mystics who draw upon direct experience of transcendence and personal connections to the divine, and Reverend Jessica York, who will introduce herself, as Director of Congregational Life at the UUA. So it differs, the structure of the service differs a little bit from what you might be used to if you've been coming. So there are no hymns listed as hymn in your order of service. There are 3 pieces of music: a prelude, an offertory, and a postlude. And all 3 of those are hymns. And if they're in our books, the number is listed. The words will be, as the videos play, on the screen. So if you feel moved to stand up and sing with them, even though you usually sit during the prelude, you are welcome to stand up and sing, or sit and sing, or just listen to the music. We got it? Okay. And we will start with the prelude.
A fire mist and a planet, a crystal and a cell, a starfish and a saurian, and caves where ancients dwelt. The sense of law and beauty, a face turned from the sod. Some call it evolution, and others call it God.
Haze on the far horizon, the infinite tender sky, the ripe rich tents of cornfields and wild geese sailing high. And over high and lowland, the charm of goldenrod. Some people call it autumn, and others call it God. Like tides on crescent sea beach, when moon so new and thin, into our hearts our yearnings come welling, surging in. Come from the mystic ocean, whose rim no foot has trod. Some people call it longing, and others call it God. A century lone and frozen, a mother starved for her brood, and Socrates dread hemlock, and Jesus on the rood, and millions through the nameless, the straight hard pathway trod. Some call it consecration, and others call it God.
And now, where's my chalice lighter? There we are. It's hard to see in the back. You need the, oh, thank you. So our chalice lighting this morning is chapter 33 of the Tao Te Ching, and this is from my favorite translation, translated by Stephen Mitchell. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. And now we will listen to part 1 of the sermon.
Part 1. Hello. I'm Jessica York. I'm your Director of Congregational Life at the Unitarian Universalist Association. Thank you for worshiping with me today. If I tell you I am a UU mystic, I wonder what you may think. You may have never met a UU mystic, but it shouldn't surprise you. There are almost as many varieties of Unitarian Universalists as there are Unitarian Universalists. Still, it feels a little risky for me to admit to you that I define myself as a mystic, having witnessed way too many occasions where UUs have belittled someone who believes in anything other than science and good hard reason. My undergraduate degree is in biology, and I'm fairly well read. I believe in science. I believe in reason. I also believe in an existence of things not easily explained by human reasoning, of a transcendence that can't be quantified. I have been challenged. How can you believe in such wishy-washy things? Well, I don't think my beliefs are wishy-washy at all. Like many of you, I believe what I must. My beliefs are a culmination of 63 years of living, of loving, of losing, observing, defining. Speaking of defining, let's talk for a minute about definitions. Webster's dictionary defines mysticism as a belief that direct knowledge of God, spiritual truth, or ultimate reality can be attained through subjective experience, such as intuition or insight. Another definition is mysticism is the experience of mystical union or direct communion with ultimate reality. My understanding of spirituality is that it's all about connection. Connection to each other, to our natural world, to our innermost needs, desires, values, thoughts, truths. If I combine all these things, isn't that the ultimate reality? UU mystics define that ultimate reality in different ways and call it by different names. That should also not be a surprise. The names are less important to me than the connection. How do you make that connection with the ultimate reality? My mystical belief is that I make that connection to the ultimate reality in many different ways, but that there are a few practices that I find helpful. And I want to talk about some of these today. The first of these is what I call the great unknowing.
This sermon is in parts. You'll get used to it. And now, if anybody who wants to come up for Time for All Ages, I have something to tell you about. I know they don't seem to be children anymore. This one or the, I don't know which, is it? The blue one. Okay. So, are we working? Okay. So, see that picture up there? How many trees do you see? Don't say it if you know. How many trees do you see? What would you think if I told you that was one tree?
Are they all connected underground by roots?
Well, not roots. So, okay, so when you think of a tree, this is called Pando. So it's in Utah, and when you think of a tree, you think of a trunk growing up, and then it has branches. Well, this tree's trunk is underground. And so are its roots, but its trunk is underground, and everything you see here is a branch. And it's really, really huge. It's a quaking aspen, which means that its leaves, the stem that attaches the leaves to the trees is very, very thin, so the least breeze makes it wiggle, so it looks like they're shaking. The whole tree is quaking. So they're called quaking aspen. So if you ever go to Utah, you can go look at it.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a bunch of trees because each of the branches are growing up to the tropism. Is that why?
Yes, they're growing towards the sun. Exactly.
No.
Good word.
Yes, tropism.
So apparently there are 40,000 stems on this tree. That's the branches. They appear to us as individual trees. It covers 106 acres. That's big. It started growing, this is like the story, on one of the first warm spring days in thousands of years after the last ice age. Who knows when that was? About 10,000 years ago. Yeah. A single aspen seed floated down and came to rest on the edge of something called Fish Lake Basin. And now this basin had been torn up and apart by glaciers, and it was all, roughed up. And so it was a good place for a seed to get started. The other thing about aspens is, like some other trees, you have to have a male tree and a female tree to make a new tree. So if they grow their own new branches, those are all clones. They're genetically identical to the original seed. So since it was the only seed, they're all clones in this area. So what Pando shows us, first of all, it was very recently discovered by people in 1976, okay, that's really recently. You think it's a long time ago, but it was recently. Ancient history. Okay, so it's been there a really long time, but we're just now figuring out about it. And it's redefining for us what tree means, right? So maybe there are other things that we haven't discovered or figured out yet that might mean something than what we think it means. Maybe being a boy is something different than what we think it means. Being a tree is something different than we've always thought it meant. So Pando is a good lesson in we're always learning new things. And some of them are really, really weird and exciting. So now we're going to sing a cappella, you guys, the kids to go back to their class. Okay? Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. So now you're invited to briefly share events in your life so we may support and celebrate together. Please do not share others' personal information without their permission. The microphone is open. Okay, and now we will listen to part 2 of the sermon.
Part 2, The Great Unknowing. It started small. One day I voiced aloud that I don't know what happens when we die. That's one of life's big religious questions, yes, along with, is there a God? And why is there evil in the world? Or why do bad things happen to good people? And as a UU religious educator, I've written about those questions, preached on them, sat with children, youth, and adults to ponder them for hours. This was not the first time I admitted that I didn't know the answer. Yet for some reason on this day, I fully embraced the unknowing. It wasn't, I don't know, but maybe this happens. It was simply, I don't know. And for really the first time, I was okay not knowing. What followed is what I think of as my great unknowing. Is there a God? I don't know. Do plants have consciousness? I don't know. How wonderful. How liberating to be able to admit you don't know and to be okay with that. One sort of a side effect to the great unknowing is learning to live with mystery. You know, sometimes mysteries are fun, they can be delightful. Sometimes they're troubling, and they can keep you from moving forward in ways that you would like to move. Everyone really needs to decide for themselves how much mystery they're willing to live with. There may be limits. I find myself making most of those decisions really situation by situation, which can be a lot of work. Sometimes I do envy people who seem so sure of their answers. I think of how much easier their lives must be. But that envy is pretty short-lived. I really don't want to live with what I think of as imaginary answers and illusions for the sake of a peaceful mind. There have been a few significant times in my life that the universe, the divine, the ultimate reality has sent what I think is a message to me that I don't understand or for which I don't know how to respond. One of these is an incident that happened at, of all places, the Parliament of World Religions in Toronto in 2018. My last day there was pretty hectic. I needed to leave the Parliament early to attend another conference. There were so many programs I still wanted to attend, but I would miss. I was packing as much as I could into my last day there, pulling my suitcase around with me, going from one event to the next. The last event that I could attend before heading to the airport was a gathering of Indigenous leaders at a lodge set up for the entire conference in the Toronto Convention Center. The lodge had been used throughout the conference by various practitioners of Indigenous religions, and I am not a practitioner of Indigenous religions, but those of us who were not were invited to this particular event to observe a religious ceremony. I sat on the front bench to watch because I knew that I would need to leave the ceremony before it was complete, which was not ideal, but I really wanted to be there to witness some of it, even knowing that I was going to have to leave early to catch my plane. Sitting there on the bench, I watched for some time as the leaders prepared the space. I watched them welcome each other, honor their elders, greet new people from cultures and tribes all over the world. They were bringing different rituals to that space, but willing to be led by spirit and the chosen leaders to take the ceremony wherever it needed to go. Of the leaders who appeared to be in charge was a really beautiful Native American woman. Unexpectedly, in the latter part of their preparation, when the lodge appeared to be full and things maybe were about to get started, she approached me in the observation area. She asked, "Are you supposed to be with us?" gesturing to the lodge. I was pretty thrown. I was not anticipating being personally engaged at all during my time there. I just came to observe. That was my role. And I certainly was not expected to be invited into the lodge. I answered, "I'm not a practitioner of an indigenous religion." Part of me felt like going into the lodge would be saying that I'm something that I'm not. She just smiled at me still, and she said, "Okay." I asked, "Because I see the spirits all around you." And then she returned to the lodge. She saw spirits all around me? What did that mean? What was I to do with that information that I did earnestly believe was something I was meant to hear? At the time, I simply tucked it away for further reflection. It was really more than I could absorb at that moment. I think about that day often, though. I think now, 7 years later, now that I have embraced the great mystery, now that I have discovered more of what mysticism can mean to me and how I feel about spirits and invitations, I think now I would shove my suitcase aside. I'd say, to hell with my flight. And I'd go and I'd join them in the lodge. I could come not as one polished in ritual or in the religion, but as one open, as a learner. I may be a Unitarian Universalist elder, but in this indigenous community, I would be like a newborn babe. And somehow I know that coming that way, that they would accept me. They would bless me because I would come with an open heart and a gentle, loving spirit. Was that what the universe wanted me to do? I don't know. I will never know what I could have done in that moment and the results of it. I do know that that gift was given to me. It is still something that I treasure, and I know there's still the possibility that at some point I will understand what I'm to do with that information. Not knowing doesn't mean I've stopped my search for truth and meaning. It just admits that there are things that I can know, there are things I cannot know, and there are things that I don't know right now. One of the blessings of the great unknowing for me is that you might think you know, and that's all right too. I can believe that you know, and I believe I don't know. Both things exist at the same time. It's a situation of both and.
Okay, while you think about that bit, we'll now take up the offering. After our song of dedication, the greeters will take up the offering. Generosity is a spiritual practice. Our fellowship is supported by our pledges and donations. If you are paying your pledge with a check today, please make a note in the memo line. We also have a tradition called Share the Plate, where normally we split equally with a local charity all undesignated cash donations and checks not marked as pledges. In these troubling times when many struggle with economic challenges, we are committing all of our undesignated Sunday collection in November to our new Fund for Emerging Needs. The monies in that fund will be provided to persons in our UUFEC community to give short-term relief by paying a utility bill or purchasing some groceries. All such funding help will be strictly confidential and will be administered by the board's social justice leadership and Reverend Kathy Hurt. And now we will try some more a cappella singing and sing our song of dedication, which I assume everyone knows. And then we'll listen to the offertory, which is another opportunity for you to sing along if you would like, or just listen. And now we go to part 3 of the sermon. Don't forget Pando while you're listening to this.
Part 3, connectedness. To us humans, aspens are both and. Some aspen trees are individual trees with root systems that are unique and separate and genetically distinct from the trees next to them. And some aspen trees are not really distinct trees at all, but are stems and branches of one big tree. They're clones, genetically identical to the tree next to them, which really isn't a tree, but it's just a stem, a branch, a part of this one organism. My subjective experience, if I was to visit Pando, might be that I am in a forest of many individual trees. Yet science tells us that Pando is a single living organism. What a magnificent example of being both and. I'm both and. I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and I'm a mystic. And I believe in both and thinking. Both and thinking opens up a world of unlimited possibilities, and I am a lover of possibilities. It helps me living in a world full of paradox. I find it incredibly freeing. And yet I must admit, it does not come naturally to me. I wish it did. But I've been raised in a world of dichotomies where you are this or you are that. You're either or thinking world. And I have to remind myself of the possibilities of both and thinking and practice it day by day. And practicing it means, of course, I still don't always get it right. But I do think that it brings me closer to the ultimate reality. And Pando is something else. Pando is also a wonderful example of interconnectedness. Interconnectedness is an important aspect of my own mystical beliefs. Some of the times I have felt most connected have been times of inexplicable transcendence, where I have felt like a living yin-yang symbol existing as a small part of a big world, and that big world also exists as a small part of a larger than life me. Once years ago, I was riding on a train, the Crescent, going from New Orleans to Birmingham, Alabama. My mind was troubled. I don't remember what was troubling me, but I was wrestling with all these troubling and conflicting thoughts and confusion, and had been for days. Looking out the train window, I had the thought that I just must be disconnected from the world. I was out of the flow. I was disconnected from the Tao, which is the way, right? I did not know my way forward. Remarkably, the vista in my window after I had this thought seemed to expand. It became wider and wider, impossibly sun-filled. It was as if the whole world existed outside that small window, and well, I mean, it did, right? And it also existed within the train itself, and it existed within me. Then I knew that I could never be totally disconnected from the Tao or from the world around me. All I needed to do was to acknowledge it, find that connection again, allow myself to truly feel it. And I did. And then suddenly I was filled with such joy that I laughed out loud. Thinking about it now brings me that same joy. It fills me with the warmth, with wonder and awe. And I am so grateful that the universe called me in. Have you ever experienced such transcendence, such surety? Have you ever experienced such a feeling of belonging to everything? Experiencing that kind of connectedness to what Webster calls the ultimate reality. Oh, I wish I could just call it up and feel it all the time. But the world intrudes. My brain is full of a to-do list. My heart is full of anger or grief. My spirit feels as if, oh, I am too small and I am not doing enough to ease the pain of the world. When that feeling, that connectedness does come back, that pull, that reminder that I am still linked to all life, it is a precious gift. And I remember to feel gratitude. I am able to decompartmentalize my life and practice openness to whatever comes, whatever the universe seems fit to send me.
And now a reading. This is a poem by the poet Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. They may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And now we'll listen to the part 4 of the sermon, the final part.
Part 4, Practicing Openness. My admission to not knowing the answers to so many of the big religious questions, the great unknowing, has created an openness with me that I try to nurture. It's not always easy. I have strong opinions about many things. And like most people, I like to be right. And yet, being open to what the universe sends me is how I manifest trust and faith in the ultimate goodness of life. It is one way that I practice putting love at the center of my Unitarian Universalist faith. I have to practice this. It does not always come naturally. I make use of wonder. I wonder why this person needs to prove they're better than me. I try to open myself up and engage in new experiences, to have new learnings. So I've spoken about a few of the ways that I connect to my mystic beliefs. What I haven't talked about is how I live those beliefs. Because I don't think values or beliefs are any good if they don't help you be a better person, if they are not tools that you can use to help create heaven here on earth. My mysticism is in some ways like Pando's root system. I want to put up a multitude of stems like that massive aspen tree, stems that function like trunks in the forest of life. Trunks like being a good parent, and trunks like being a good friend. Trunks like showing up for justice, wearing my Side with Love t-shirt. Trunks like trying to eat more vegetarian. Trunks, like my work as a spiritual companion, being with others as they struggle to stay spiritually connected. That work, I find, helps me also be spiritually connected. It's, it's a twofer. Whatever your belief system, I hope is that it provides a solid foundation for you to grow those great trunks of work in the world, but also a system that feeds you, that nurtures you, because you also need that to go out into the world and to do this business of love. The business of love. You need that to go out into the world and do this business of justice. The business of justice. You need that to go out into the world and do the business of mercy and empathy. Mercy and empathy. Oh, there is so much work to do. We need to draw strength from wherever we find it. I started here by talking about definitions. I gave you Webster's. Now here is my definition of what it means for me to be a UU mystic. It means to acknowledge our interconnectedness with all of existence, to experience the holy, the divine, the ultimate reality in everything. It is to know in your head, in your heart, in your body, your soul, that we can all access that transcendent connection. We can access it without a degree, without books, without words, without kneeling, without fasting, without attending church, just by being. Because you are already connected to the Tao. You just need to feel it. Swim in it. I am a Unitarian Universalist mystic. I practice openness because mysticism can come to me in that way. Maybe you too would like to practice some openness because mysticism might hold some lessons for you too, whether you identify that way or not. Come on in with me. The water here is fine.
I'll extinguish our chalice with a reading of chapter 1 of the Tao Te Ching. And then we'll listen to, for our postlude, another opportunity to sing along if you'd like, the song Holy Now by Peter Mayer. So chapter 1 of the Tao Te Ching, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations.
When I was a boy, each week on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. And he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread. And everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face, say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Join us in the back for refreshments.